There are 520,000 elected offices in this country. So that is 520,000 people that get to shape our lives with the stroke of a pen. Women in the U.S., we're 51% of the population. We do not hold 51% of those offices. The majority of offices in this country are still held by straight white men. They are the ones who are making these decisions.
Welcome to At Our Table, where we bring leaders, thinkers, and builders together for honest conversations about our democracy and the people shaping its future. I'm your host, Jamie Harrison. Today's guest is someone doing some of the most important work in American politics, even if it often happens behind the scenes. A'shanti Gholar is the president and CEO of Emerge, an organization that has spent more than 2 decades training Democratic women to run for office and to win. From city halls to state legislatures to Congress, thousands of women across the country have stepped forward to lead because someone encouraged them, trained them, and helped them believe they belonged in the arena. At a moment when our democracy is being tested and the country is asking hard questions about representation and leadership, the work of building the next generation of leaders matters more than ever. A'shanti is one of the key people helping to make that happen. A'shanti, welcome to At Our Table.
Oh, thank you for having me. You know, I'm a fan of the show. I got so excited when you announced you were doing a podcast. I'm like, yes, this is a man who needs a podcast mic. Some of y'all don't need mics, but Jamie, we love that you have a podcast mic.
Well, A'shanti, I want to start off with this. You know, I'm thinking about our government a lot. If American government looked like the people it serves, how different do you think our politics would be today?
Our politics would be so different. And I think we just really have to start by breaking it down. There are 520,000 elected offices in this country. So that is 520,000 people that get to shape our lives with the stroke of a pen. And we really just like to focus on president and vice president and Congress, but the majority of those seats are at the state and local level.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people having the biggest impact on our daily lives. And with our work at Emerge, getting more women into office, we see the difference. When we look at Nevada, New Mexico, and Colorado, they all have majority woman state legislative bodies, sometimes both chambers, one chamber, and Nevada is my home state. So for me, I honestly get to say, I get to see my nieces and nephews growing up in a better Nevada due to having more women in elected office in the state, particularly Emerge women, because they are bringing those lived experience, those diverse experiences. But what I particularly say is when you have an inclusive government, I think reflective is great, but when you have an inclusive government, you're having those people who may have their one why for why they wanted to run for office, but when they get in there, they care about everybody. The legislation runs the gamut. And if our democracy, if our government was just full of the people that really make up this country, we would be having some very, very different conversations.
No, very different. I mean, I just think if women, in terms of their representation, we think about the percentage of women in the population, and if they were the equal percentage in terms of our government, I think we would be in a much better situation across the board, across the states, but also particularly in our federal government.
Yes, because women in the U.S., we're 51% of the population. We do not hold 51% of those offices. The majority of offices in this country are still held by straight white men. They are the ones who are making these decisions. And we know, just even if we want to talk about Congress, we see all the debates.
Yeah.
They are legislating for them, for people who look like them, to uphold a certain way of life. And this is why I say, for those of us who are not, straight white Christian men who this government was founded by, we're playing a system that wasn't built for us.
Yeah.
So that also makes it so much harder because they never anticipated the participation of women. They never anticipated the participation of non white people. And 250 years later, we still see this struggle. We still see this fight for us to actually have all voices represented in government.
Ashanti, for listeners who may not know your organization or know it well, tell us about Emerge. What does the organization do, and why has it become such an important pipeline for leadership in this country?
Yes. So over our 20 years, we're now in year 21. I like to say we're full grown adults now. We have become the nation's largest network of women elected officials and candidates. And that's not just Democratic women, that is overall. And we started in the Bay Area in 2002. Our co founders were really good friends with Kamala Harris when she was running that very first race for district attorney.
Mm,
And they were supporting her with that race. And they're like, oh my goodness, there is so much that goes into running an effective race. And for our 2024 annual event, we actually had the vice president call in and she talked about her very first race saying, like, I needed people to help me write my bio. Y'all, Kamala Harris needed help writing her bio. She talked about making her flyers and then Xeroxing them, copying them. And then she would put her ironing board in her car. And then she'd go to the grocery store and then she would tape the flyers onto her ironing board as her makeshift table. And she would harass people when they came out
wow.
of the grocery store. So everyone starts somewhere is why I wanted to tell that story. And with Emerge, we give women who want to step up and run for office the tools, the resources, but most importantly, the network of support to run. We demystify what it takes to run for office, and the women get to do it in a cohort of like minded women. So from day one, we are giving you a network. Our Emerge alums love to call it the Emerge Sisterhood of people that are going to be there for you. So over time, we have trained over 7,000 women to run through our signature training programs, our boot camps, and our specialty programs such as Gavel In, where we focus on getting more women to run for judicial seats. I don't think I need to talk about why that's
Mm.
important. And we have grown to be able to see over 1,200 of those women are currently serving in elected office all across the country.
So when you step back 20 years and you look at the impact that Emerge has had, what makes you most proud?
Oh my goodness. For me, given the state of our country right now, I love the fact that I get to wake up every day and do this work. But for me, it's to see the women from the very first day they enter the program, to see them on the campaign trail, to see them in elected office, then running for higher office. That is what makes me so proud is despite everything that's going on, women are still stepping up to say, I have the ability to make change. I want to be in this fight. This is a great way for me to be a servant leader and serve my family, my community, my district. That makes me so proud of just seeing them have the courage when right now we see a lot of people don't have courage at
Yeah,
all to
not at
stand
all.
up and fight. They just want to cower and, oh, I don't want to speak out because I don't want to be attacked. So for them to just continue to rise up, do this work, and make fabulous change. I love looking at the bills that they introduce and how it improves their community. That is what makes me just so proud of this network and this team.
Ashanti, I am sure there are going to be young women who will listen to this, and there's some that I'm sure you meet every day out across the country. They're thinking, oh my God, Ashanti is so amazing. She's a president of this great organization. But what was her journey into politics? Well, when did you realize that this was the arena where you could really make change?
Yeah. So for me, I do not come from a political family at all. They were not heavily involved in politics. I don't have that prominent family last name. People can barely say my last name. They weren't out there donating to all of these candidates. For me, one day I was just watching TV with my mom and she got up and I do what little kids do. I changed the channel and I don't know how, but somehow I found this clip of C-SPAN, and there were just all of these people who were arguing and fighting about making the country better, and I became so intrigued by this thing called politics, which I
Mm.
didn't know the name at the time, but I was like, why do I have to watch these kids shows? I can watch this. You got debate, you got math, you got to count the votes, there's geography because you're learning all the different states. But even at that young age, I didn't see a lot of people that look like me. So it even makes you think, wow, I love this thing, but is it for me? And I just continue to love politics, learn more about it. And I had an amazing government teacher, Mrs. King, and she was very politically engaged. She knew everybody, but we never knew which political party she was a part of. And the year I was in her class, we had a huge US Senate race, and she was able to get both candidates to come in. So for
Wow.
me, being the political nerd, I'm like, this is a dream. And she said, have your questions ready. So for me, my question was about a minimum wage, a living wage, being in Las Vegas, a union town. I worked a part-time job to have extra money. I have friends that work part-time jobs to have extra money, help support their family. I felt people should make a living wage. So the Democratic candidate came in one day, did all my research, and I just asked him why he supported a living wage so much. And he gave a great answer. Then we had the day that the Republican candidate came in, who was not good on having a living wage. So I said, why in Congress, he was a congressman at the time, did you vote not to raise the minimum wage? And he's like, oh, I voted for it. I was like, you didn't. And he's like, I voted for it. I was like, you did not. And he kept arguing with me. And I was like, sir, you can look up votes. You did not. And he said to me, you don't know what you're talking about. And for me, being like a 17-year-old, high school girl, I was like, you know what? You're not that hot. Your tie's ugly, and I hope you lose. So I was offended. So the next day, Mrs. King calls me over, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. I'm like, I never get in trouble in school. And she said, the congressman called me, and he admitted that you were right. He didn't like the fact that you had called him out.
Oh, wow.
So I start thinking, I'm like, is it because I'm young? Is it because I'm a girl? Is it because I can't vote? And all those things were true. But Mrs. King taught us that we could volunteer. So I volunteered for the Democratic candidate every waking moment that I had. And that was the race where United States Senator Harry Reid, may he rest in power,
Yes.
beat John Ensign by 500 votes.
Wow.
And after that, I had the bug. I continued to volunteer. And I was just super lucky to continue to have all of these great women who saw things in me that I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see in myself. And I love volunteering for then Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley. And when I
Oh,
graduated
I
from
remember
college,
Congresswoman Berkeley.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Now
Yes.
Mayor Berkeley, she's the
Yep.
mayor of Las Vegas. She gave me my first job. I was her field director on her campaign,
Wow.
and she just continued to invest in me. I was able to meet the colored girls who you have had on the
Mm-hmm.
show. So, really, my story is one of just volunteering. And when I tell people that, they're just like, no, no, she just didn't volunteer and become the president and CEO of an organization. But I did.
Yeah. Folks, this is a testament. I think Ashanti's path, similar to my own, is a testament that, you don't have to come from, a whole legacy of folks that have been involved in politics in order to rise to the very top, to lead and to have an impact. And I think that's really, really important for folks to understand. Because I think sometimes, Ashanti, that people have And we see this in terms of folks running for office, that
Mhm.
sometimes they feel as though, well, I may not be qualified, or I may
Yeah.
not, I may not be ready yet. But yes, you
Yeah.
are. You are.
Yes. Like, you already have it in you. That is
Yes.
what I tell to especially women who are thinking about running for office, because unfortunately, I see it in real time when I'm out there. Just I'll be at an event and a great woman will be speaking, telling her story about community organizing or why she got involved. And I go up to her and I'd be like, "Oh, you should run for office." Who, me? No, I didn't go to one of those fancy schools and I don't have, the right family. And I, one time a woman even told me, "Yeah, I think I need to get my credit score up before I run for
Wow.
office." And I was like, they're not out here checking credit scores.
They're not
Like,
asking for your TransUnion
right,
Equifax.
right, exactly. And I said to her, "Why do you think you need a good credit score?" And she's like, "Well, because, I just see these people that are elected officials and they're so put together and, you just know their credit score is in the 800s." I was like,
Oh.
"Okay. That was a new one for me." But the reality is just step up and do it. And especially if you're a Democratic woman, this is why Emerge exists. We are here to help you on that journey. We even have a training called Step Forward, which is
Mm.
a basic 101 where we can just help you start to get mentally, emotionally, physically prepared. And even on the C3 side, we do broad leadership development for those women who just want to tap a little bit into that leadership before they want to run for office. So that's just something that we've really done at Emerge is through our 527 C4 C3 work, we have built out a full ecosystem for women to step into their political journey.
I want to spend some time, Ashanti, talking specifically about women, the Democratic Party, emerging as
Yeah.
candidates and supporting them as candidates. And I think your perspective as a Black woman leading, one of the top women recruitment and training organizations in our ecosystem. I think your perspective is really, really important here. But, I think the party's been doing a lot of soul searching for a while now, since Hillary
Mhm.
Clinton ran in 2016, and then you had Kamala Harris running in the 2024 election. And we just had an election in Texas for the United States
Mhm.
Senate with Jasmine Crockett. We often say that Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But how well do we actually invest in Black women who want to lead?
Yeah.
And give me your perspective right now, seeing some of these races that we've had. Again, from
Mhm.
Jasmine, we've had Stacey Abrams, we've
Mhm.
had Kamala Harris. Uh,
Mhm.
Give us a little, but and then on the these are women who were not successful in terms of some of the offices that they were. But on the flip side, we've had Lisa Blunt Rochester, who was
Yeah.
just on my show. Angela also Brooks.
Yeah.
There's a possibility we could have a Black woman out of Illinois for the U.S. Senate
Mhm.
soon. So
Yeah.
just give us a little perspective on where we are, particularly for Black women who are stepping up to lead.
Yes. I'll start with the investment piece. And the
Yeah.
reality is, it is not there. I can say that on the candidate front. I can even say that on the leadership front. As a Black woman leading a nonprofit, we do not get invest in the way that I see my peers do. And I'm
Mm.
going to keep it real. I have the higher success rate, but I still get less than half, when it comes to the funding. You
Say
know,
that point again, Ashanti, because I don't think folks understand. When we say it, I don't think people quite get that. That
yeah.
the bar is so much higher for us in terms of
Yes,
getting the investment.
it is so much higher. And I just see it all the time where I will say something, Emerge will put out a vision. We talk about why investing in the new American majority, Black, Brown, and Indigenous women, women of color, young women, married women, LGBTQ women, the people who are fueling Democratic victories. is so important, I'll get a, "Oh, I don't know, Ashanti." But then when a white leader says the same thing, it's brilliant, it's so smart, and just here's all of this money to do this work. You're just constantly being questioned no matter how successful you are, no matter how much you do the work. We don't get those investments. So that's why when it was really important to me when I took over Emerge, I didn't want us to be performative, as, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, we have been in the past when it came to really caring about Black women. So we doubled down on our equity and justice work. We expanded that focus on the new American majority. And I can go to 2024, and we know that that was a really hard election
Yeah.
night.
Yep.
We did not get the big win that we wanted with the White House, but our Black women at Emerge had the highest win rate in our network.
Wow.
That is how far we had come
Mm.
just by us making the investment in Black women and letting them know Emerge is an organization where you're just not going to be represented because there's a Black woman leading, is where you're going to be seen. And that was us doing different recruitment. We overhauled our curriculum to where we talk about the importance of equity and justice and knowing everyone in your district on day one. Because in order for you to be a good candidate and a good elected official, you have to truly understand the people who are making up your community. Not everyone is going to look like you. So that is really important because Black women are winning.
Yeah.
When you invest in Black women, they win. And those Black women, they were just not winning in Black districts. They were just not winning in Black and brown districts. They were winning everywhere. They were winning in predominantly white districts because we know there's still this whole myth that there's certain people who won't vote for Black women.
Yep.
And going to Jasmine, not gonna lie there, I have a lot of rage around, how so many things played out. And one of the things that was just so prevalent in that race is, well, can a Black woman win? Is she electable? Are the
Oh,
people gonna vote for her? And we keep saying it so we make it true.
yes.
And I need for that to stop. And that's a big part of why I have so much rage, is because when you just say it enough, you just put it in people's minds. Well, she can't do it. I love her, but I got to vote for the candidate that I think everyone is going to like really vote for. And so many times that candidate doesn't win.
Yep.
That candidate doesn't win in the general election. So with Black women, our leadership is so important, but no, we continue to be taken for granted when it comes to running for elected office or even running these organizations.
Well, I think it is something that we have to continue to beat that drum on. We have to continue to shine some light on it because there are disparities, and I know how hard it is being a Black man, and I know it is even more difficult for being a Black woman, particularly in this space because the bar is even higher. But when you take a look at this party, there is not one more reliable vote
Mhm.
than Black women in this party, voting at
Mhm.
90 some odd percent for Democrats
Mhm.
consistently, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
unwavering. When you think about saving democracy consistently, not only saving this party, but saving democracy itself. And I just think we deserve much more. We deserve better. And we have to demand that. We really do.
Mhm.
We really do.
We absolutely have to. And I just have to say thank you to you for standing up for Black women and talking about why this is so important. Because a big piece of the rage is we see it all the time. Thank Black women, celebrate Black
Yeah.
women,
Yep.
appreciate Black women. And again, it's just so performative
Yeah.
because nothing actually happens in reality when it's time to really step up and support Black women. The support is not there.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I saw during my time at the DNC is that sometimes we have these incredible candidates that are out there, but no one, or potential candidates, but no one ever taps them on the shoulder and says, you should run.
Mhm.
How often is leadership simply about someone seeing potential in a woman before she sees it in herself?
It is such a huge part. And, I'm going to say it like, I love those women who are like, I'm going to do it. I'm
Yeah.
just stepping up. I'm not waiting for anyone to ask me. I'm going to run for this seat. I don't care about any of the BS. I love those women. And we see so many of those women come to emerge. They're like, this is my seat. I'm ready. I want to take a training. Then there are the women that we go out and recruit and have to talk to, and there are so many women in the Emerge Network who are in elected office right now. And I know some of y'all know them, where I actually had to sit down and say, you're qualified to run for office. You would be really great. You could win this seat. And even they had those doubts and they needed reassurances that, okay, I can do this. Like, I am the leader. And one of the things that I love in the network is our alums are our best recruits. They're the ones who will go
Mm,
out there and say to other women who are in their friend group or in their sorority or at work or just even at a random gathering, hearing someone talk about how they're so pissed off at the school board, they'll slide over and just be like, you should run for office. You should make that change. So it is definitely important to do that recruitment, because we know that the typical way is, oh, a seat has opened up. And then certain people, they'll just go through their phone, right? Okay, let's see. Who do we have that we know that we can recruit? And I love the fact that I get to say, if there's a seat that's open up, people can come to Emerge and we can go through our database. And we have women who are trained and ready to run who live in that district. So it's also another way that we're just able to disrupt going for the default of what is considered electable and viable, which is a straight, white, preferably Christian man.
yeah.
We have to let women know that they can do it, and again, like, everyone starts somewhere.
So Ashanti, imagine that there's a woman listening to this episode. They're hearing you, but they're like, I don't know. I'm interested, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
What is this journey? What's the first step? So walk us through the journey of someone who's thinking about running for office. What happens between I'm thinking about running to election night victory? Well, what's that
Yes.
process?
So for us, the biggest thing is we're going to figure out the best office for you to run for, where you can be most successful. That is really important. Like, if you care about children, we want you on the school board. If you care about improving the city, their city council. If you want to do legislation that's going to impact your community, but also the state, we talk about state houses. That is the biggest piece. We figure out your why for wanting to do this and we align it to the right office. We then get you starting to think about running this thing called a campaign. What does that look like? How do you get your name on the ballot? Some places you just get to go pay your little fee, file, and you're good. Other places you have to go collect signatures.
Mm,
We help you figure all of that out. All right, where do I find the staff and volunteers that people are talking about? We help you figure it out. I have to write a speech. I have to give speeches. Yes, we'll help you. I have to raise money. I have to get in front of people and ask for money. You sure do. And we will help you figure that out. Oh, I really don't like social media. I got to be on social media. Yep. We will teach you how to effectively use social media. From canvassing to phone banking is demystifying everything. And once the women graduate from the program, they decide to run. We are there with them on that journey, continuing to be a pipeline of support, to connecting them to our partners who do endorsements and funding. We're hyping them up, on our social media with Emerge. We bring them out to events. But most importantly, I love when I see their emerged sisters who are out there helping them win as well. And then there's that victory when they win. And so many of our women, they get heavily outspent 2 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1. And I tell them what you don't have in the funding, you get to make up with shoe leather and a really good message.
Yes.
That is what people want to hear. They want to know that you're out there, that you're listening, that you get it. And that's really how it starts. And my favorite part is when you're ready to run for higher office, which is extremely exciting. We got to see that with our Emerge alum, Abigail Spanberger from Congress, someone who wasn't going to apply for the Emerge program. Mind
Wow.
you, she was debating applying for the program and running for that seat.
Who are some of your most prominent alum
Oh
of
my goodness.
of
We have
Emerge?
all right. I can't name all 1,200 of y'all now, so don't get mad. Don't
We
get
just did a
mad, I gotta
sample,
say that.
just a
But,
sample.
obviously, we're really proud of Abigail becoming the
Yeah,
first governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
that's
and that's where
amazing.
I reside.
Yep.
So I get to say my governor is an Emerge alum. The mayor of my city that I live in is an Emerge alum, a Black woman. We had a special election for the Senate district that I live in. Our Emerge alum won that one. So I'm represented by Emerge women. So again, I get to see the direct impact. We're really excited about Deb Haaland, who's running for
Oh,
governor of
I
New
love Deb.
Mexico.
Oh,
We,
Deb's one. Yeah, and we're gonna
yes.
have Deb on at our table soon, but she is
Oh,
fantastic.
oh, I can't wait for that episode. I
Yep.
absolutely love Deb. Again, someone who got her start volunteering.
Yeah.
That is how she got her start. We love Michelle Wu, the first Asian woman mayor of Boston. We have so many great members of Congress. We have Lucy McBath. We have Amelia Sykes. We have Janelle Bynum, the first Black woman to represent Oregon. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver is one of our alums, and we continue to support her as she's dealing with everything she unfortunately has to deal with for standing up to do her job. We have so many women in state houses across the country. Back to my home state, I love Nicole Canizaro, who is the Senate Majority Leader in Nevada, who is running for Attorney General, which is extremely exciting. Then we have our Merge alum, Jenna Griswold, who's the Secretary of State of Colorado, who's running
Colorado.
for Attorney
Yes.
General. We have Brianna Titone there, who's running for Treasurer in Colorado, and she would be the first openly trans woman to have that seat. So just so many great women. And we have all the alums on our website at emergeamerica.org. So you can go through and just see so many of these fabulous women. And I mean, Jamie, it even goes down to having women who are winning offices in the South in cities where their family members were lynched.
Mm.
They now serve an elected office there.
Wow.
Like that is the power of women stepping up and making change.
So, Ashanti, they're critics of organizations like Emerge, right? And they say, well, Emerge is more partisan than about, rather than feminist, right? Because they just focus on democratic women.
We
How do you
sure do.
respond? Yeah, how do you respond to that?
I mean, as my granny used to say, there's always people out there that are gonna flap their gums, and and have things to say. But at the end of the day, organizations like Emerge are important and they
Yes.
need to exist because it goes back to tapping people on the shoulder and letting them know that you do have a place in elected office.
Mhm.
Even in the year of 2026, there are so many people who still feel that politics isn't for them, that they don't belong, and, oh, I'm not like those people. We have to exist. And also giving women the safe space to talk about this because it is hard. It is not easy. And I tell our women all the time, I wish I could take the sexism, the racism, the misogyny out of politics for you all, but we can't. What we can do is make you more competent on what it takes to run. We can make you more confident when you're out there on the campaign trail, and we make it a lot less lonely because there's so many women who do run, they don't win. They'll come and do an emerge program and are like, this is what I missed. I not only miss the knowledge, but I miss having people support me. So this is why we have to have the emerges of the world. And yes, our 527, like, we are partisan. We train Democratic women to run for office, and I sleep fine just at night,
Well, I
only
mean, and
training Democratic women.
it's shared values, right? Yeah, you
It is
right now
shared values.
you got Susan Collins, who's a woman,
Yeah.
but she's supporting this. What is it? The Save
Save
Act, or
Act.
which
Yeah.
will uh, disempower women, right?
Right.
It will disenfranchise women.
Yes.
Um, and so yes, and we have it in the Black community as well. Just but
Mhm. Right.
they say all skin folk ain't kinfolk, right?
That's for sure.
I
That's
mean,
for sure.
and so it's the shared values. It's about making sure you are empowering our communities and that we share that value in doing so.
Absolutely. And, even with the SAVE Act, so many concerns about that. Yes, it's going to disproportionately impact women, but I can't imagine being a woman who has done everything I needed to get my name on the ballot, and I can't even vote for myself
Yes.
because of this. And that, for me, that is not partisan. That pains me for any woman who is stepping up and wanting to run, to not even be able to cast that vote for yourself. Women need to think of it from that perspective as well. And, on the other side of the aisle, people will say, well, as a Republican woman, what do you think about emerge? And, they'll just say, well, we don't need that in the Republican Party. And for us, it's not about gender. But also, look at what the Republican Party is doing to women, how they treat women.
Mhm.
So it's not surprising that there isn't an emerge for Republican women, conservative women. Let's be real, it's not important to them. But
It's not a
for
value.
us, it's not a shared value for them. It is a shared value for us. And even during my time at the DNC, when we were doing our community engagement with my colleagues, women were always at the center because
Mm.
women are so important. You cannot win without women.
Bottom line. Bottom
Mhm.
line. And for folks, we mentioned the SAVE Act. Some of you are probably like, Jamie, what are you talking about? That is some legislation, MAGA Trump supported legislation going through Congress right now to change the way that we do voting in this country that would make it so much more difficult for people to vote. And they set up all of these different guidelines, make it difficult for women who have changed their names because of marriage and may not have identification for all of these things. So again, you can look it up, you can Google it, but it is some very negative legislation that Trump is trying to push through before the midterm elections to make it much more difficult.
Yes, and the documents that you would need on it, you would have to be a pretty privileged person
Yeah,
to be able to track those things down. Like, one of the things that you would need is a passport.
a
And I
passport.
can
Everybody
I
doesn't have
can
a passport.
I didn't get a passport until I was 22. Like,
Yes.
that was the first time I traveled out of the country. There are people in my family who didn't even get passports until they were in their 40s, their 50s, because that's when they first traveled out of the country. Again, just really setting things up for a few privileged people in this country.
Shanti, I would say 95% of my family, my immediate family, do not have passports,
Same.
right? And I think in certain communities, you see that, particularly in the Black community in the South, folks who never travel outside the country, why would they have a passport, right? Because they can't afford to.
I feel you. I just think about my dad.
Yeah.
When he was in California, I was in Nevada. He would take the bus. Like, the first time he flew on an airplane was when I purchased the ticket for him, and he
Mm.
was so excited. Everyone. So again, we have to understand who really makes up this country. And
Yeah.
it is not those 535 people that we see in the hall. A lot of them are really, really out of touch.
Yeah. We sort of alluded to this early on, but I have this one question for you. If half of every state legislature, imagine this, if half of every state legislature in America were women tomorrow,
Yeah.
what policies do you think would change first?
Oh my goodness. So many policies because, I know a lot of people to be like, well, women's issues would get better. But women's issues are community issues, they're family issues, they are
Yes.
everyone's issues. Like everyone benefits when women are doing well. So there's so much that you would see, going back to Nevada. We would see improvement in women's health care, but
Mm,
also overall health care with the expansion of like Medicaid services.
Medicaid. Yeah.
Medicaid, very, very huge. That's a big thing. Education funding absolutely improves. Services for veterans, that starts to improve. Overall, you get to see better budgets where you're constantly like not running deficits, where you get better balanced budgets, but you also see the investment going all across the state, particularly in rural areas. Well, I think about rural areas, and that helps improve lives for our seniors when we do better investments in seniors. So many things. Basically, so many things, everything really starts to improve when you have more women. And I want to say this, not just there as elected officials, but when they are in leadership,
Mhm.
then it really, really improves. And I'll shout on another Emerge alum, Joanna McClinton, Speaker of the House in Pennsylvania. We see so many things that she has been able to do. And she did our Seated Together program, which is the only program that exists for Black women elected officials to do a program to run for higher office. She did that program. And I love seeing everything that she's been able to do.
She's
And
so impressive.
she's so impressive, but I also know how having a woman, a Black woman in that role allowed for the Crown Act to get
Yeah.
passed,
Yeah.
which is huge because hair discrimination is still real. Just even when I became president of Emerge, I asked someone asked me if I was going to change my hair to have more presidential hair.
Seriously. Seriously.
I'm very serious. And my response was, well, I'm the president of Emerge now, so this is presidential hair. So
Drop mic.
hair discrimination is so real.
Oh, good lord.
I
It was
know.
like, it is 2026, folks.
It never
2026.
ends. It
No, it never
unfortunately
ends.
never ends.
It never ends. If Emerge fully achieves its mission, Ashanti, over the next 20 years, tell us, where would we be?
No, we would be in such a much better place. We have our Emerge 2035 vision, and that is reaching over 100,000 women of the new American majority to take some political action, and we are pretty much achieved that already have, like, we're crunching the data. There's our work to make sure that women run for higher office once they get elected. I like to say there's the old boys club. We're building the new girls network. And then there's our piece of repowering political structures. And that's waking up every single day to get more women in office. But for me, I really want to create majority woman governing bodies. Like that is what I am
Mm,
going for as I'm leading this organization. And the thing is, Jamie, we have to keep at it because there's no end date. As much as we all wake up every day at Emerge, ready to make change, there's people that wake up every single day and work just as hard to stop that change.
amen to that.
So unfortunately, there's no end date. We got to keep going.
So what would you say to a young woman who cares about politics but thinks, I'm just not the type of person who runs for office?
You say that now. You say that now because there's a lot of women sitting in elected office who said that to me.
Mm,
And so consider it. Consider would you want to run? What would you want to run for? Why do you want to serve? What difference could you make? And just don't always think, oh, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it. Because there's someone else who's also saying, "Oh, somebody else will do it, somebody else will do it." You can absolutely be that person. And if you're just super adamant, like, "No, elected office isn't for me," consider working on a campaign. Campaigns need staff. Elected officials need staff. What role can you do there? If that isn't for you, are you the volunteer? I absolutely loved volunteering. For me, it was just so much fun to be out there and to tell people why I was involved and why I was spending so much time supporting this candidate. They want to talk to the regular people who are giving up their Saturdays to sit behind a table and pass out information. Why are you doing that? And if none of those things appeal to you, you can always donate. Don't sleep on the power of low dollar donations. They
Yes.
fuel so many campaigns, so many organizations. And I just think about how different could it be if just even the 99% of us just gave the little bit of what we had. Y'all, there was a reason why Obama was asking for $3. Those $3 added up. And even if we're doing that, then the 1% would have absolutely nothing on us.
You got that right. Well, Ashanti, one of the things you know that we do on this show, which is one of my favorite times, is we don't just receive, we like to give. And we give out a very special award. We call it the Sit Your Ass Down Award. And
Yes.
so our guest for the week gets an opportunity to hand this award out. This is a very prestigious award. So,
Yes.
Ashanti, who would you like to give this week's Sit Your Ass Down Award to?
Oh my goodness. So many people, because Jamie, you know I love astrology. And right now, my astrology, like even the astrologers are doing videos saying, leave the Pisces alone. Don't mess with the Pisces for the next 3 weeks. Do not play with them. They are not to be bothered. They're serious. they they are serious. And there are so many people I could give this award to, but I think I'm going to give it to the people who don't think what happened at the polls in Texas on election day wasn't voter suppression
Uh,
and that it wasn't a test case for new voter suppression efforts. Y'all need to sit your ass down.
Amen.
They continue to show us the plan right to our face. We were not over exaggerating. You can just shut your mouth with your privilege. Oh, you could have early voted. You do not know people's lives. Those people really, there's a lot of people at the top of my list, but that one just really irks me. Do not dismiss what happened at the polls in Texas during the primary election.
Every person should get it. If you have the right to vote, you should be able to exercise your right to vote unfettered. And so
Mhm.
I agree with you. I mean, it's such an important issue to me because my grandparents did not always have that right to vote, but when they
Mhm.
did get that right, they cherished it, and it's something that I cherish. So I
Same.
agree. Anybody who tries to suppress the vote, and I don't care. Like, yes, I want people to go out and vote Democratic, but it is you have the right to vote for whomever the hell you want to. So you
Yeah.
should be able to have that right and to be able to exercise that. And I will defend that for anybody, regardless of what party you're in. So anybody who is suppressing and anybody who dismisses these attempts to suppress, y'all need to sit your ass down. Just
Mhm.
just sit down. So
Yes.
Ashanti, thank you for that. We really, really, we are on the same page as it relates to that. This has been such an amazing conversation, Ashanti. I have had so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we wrap up? Anything that you wanted to bring up?
No, everyone, let's just keep up the fight. They're not gonna win.
They're not going to win. They can't win.
Yep.
They cannot win. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere you find your podcasts. To be the first to know who will be at our table next, be sure to subscribe to our Substack on jamieharrison.substack.com. At Our Table with Jamie Harrison is a production of Vision Blue Media. Our founding executive producers are Jason Hyder and Jamie Harrison. Our producer is Kyle Kelly. Our content consultants are Ernie Grigg and Clay Middleton. Our digital communications are led by Lauren Brown. Nia Sansa is our social media strategist. Inez Smolansky provides production legal. Title sequence by Tom Hunt. Our theme song, Blonde Gone, is written by Dewey and published by Alibi Music Library. Special thanks to A'shanti Gholar and the Emerge team. I'm Jamie Harrison, and I look forward to another conversation at our table.